Welcome to another MPA Production stream. I am the guild leader from the MPA community. Stream we do every Saturday, just work on music, collaborate with members from the community. So if you want to get involved, send me some samples. Double check to make sure I'm live here. Send me some samples. So that means just it could be custom, original samples, anything. It could be drums, could be synths, leads, whatever. Vocals would be nice. Send it to me during the week or even during the stream, and I'll use them on stream. Use them. Hold on, I'm making sure I'm live. It says broadcasting, MPA Production Stream 12 broadcasting. Okay, that's what I want to know. Hope it's working. And then we'll just collaborate. So if we really get a lot of samples from the community, we can make an actual community collaboration. But there's just one person that sends me samples. Whatever I end up working on or finishing that day during the live stream, I'll just bounce it out as stems or whatever, send it back to you. We could start just a regular collab like that. But I would be super excited to get a whole bunch of samples from maybe like 5-10 people from the community and actually finish a community collab. There's actually been some talk floating around about a community album of sort, something to release on like Bandcamp or something. So I don't know much about that yet, but something we're looking into too. So we will definitely want to encourage community collaboration of all kinds, whether it's collaborating on songs, remixing each other's songs, or putting together an album, compilation. If you're listening and you're not a member of this community I'm talking about, look for the links on top of our channels. It's the MPA community. We're on Discord. You'll see our Discord link. We're an amino community. You'll see our amino link there. YouTube channel, SoundCloud, and we're starting to playlist on Spotify as well. Let me upload this. Okay, so that's the Discord message. I just pushed that out. Close this. Yes, please join our Discord if you're not already on their Discord. We've been growing that. Just recently hit 203 members. All right, so should close out of that for now. All right, so I do have some samples from some members sent me in the past. I'm going to pull from my own collection and stuff today. I'm waiting on some fresh samples. Might not get them today, but maybe next week from one of our members. This should be exciting. Some saxophone samples. But that got me in the mood to chop up saxophones. So I'm going to actually just look in my folders for some collected saxophone loops to start chopping up with. That's what I'm gonna do today. So I'm going to start with a little template here. New FPC project. I'm going to build a fun little FPC. I'll share this FPC when I'm done. So let's open this up. There, that's the regular mode right there. I'll have to check this out to see how this is mapped, because the default is not the way I like it at all. So this is C sharp, C, F sharp, F sharp, 4, E3. Yeah, so this is weird. This is set up for like I think some kind of traditional drum pad or something layout. But I have a custom one saved, so I'll pull that up. Hey, Meteoro's in the chat. Hey, Jazzerado. I'm doing good. I hope you're doing good too. I love doing these production streams. I get excited for them. Even more so when I have like a plan, like a thought out plan. Today, my plan is to build one of these FPCs. So I don't know if I'll fill up all the pads, but I want to build a real fun drum pad machine, basically. Kick drum, snare drum, some hi-hats, some saxophone chops, some bass chops, chords, and all that stuff to be played. And then I'll upload this as a shareable FPC. All right. Yeah, thanks for uh coming to the stream. I like it when someone's in the chat here. It's real fun to have the chat right here. Well, I have it tucked behind the other monitor for y'all, so y'all don't see it here, but I just see it, the chat in the corner over here of my first monitor, and it's really neat. It kind of feels like people are talking to me inside of Fruity Loops. That's awesome. And I love how I call FL Studio Fruity Loops always, even though they like legally went away from that name. Fruity, it's a fruity software. Okay. So this is not the default. This is, you can lay this out like this. You can resize this, which is pretty cool. But I'm going to keep it pretty compact. I'm going to keep it in this mode. I do need to load up the one I built. So let me jump over here to my presets. I'm glad you came by also because I didn't know if the stream was working or not. I tried to jump onto my channel, on our channel, and I didn't see it. It wasn't showing me our stream, so I was just like, whatever. Okay, so I have a blank FPC right here. Drop that one. So the blank one, and I know there's different ways to map it. I think they got some some other defaults, but anyways, I mapped this one at one point to actually be played across keys and not on a drum pad. So this is C, C sharp, D, D sharp, and it just keeps going up. And I went all the way up to this G6. So these are just laid out in order now, like of the key of an actual keyboard. So as long as I put the samples in that order, starting from the bottom going up, they'll be in order on the piano, like the MIDI, the piano roll. And there's different ways to do that, like I said, but that's one way I do it. And then you gotta mess with these chokes, basically these cut and cut bys. Certain channels you want them to choke other channels. So if you had an open hat and a closed hat, you'd want the closed hat to choke the open hat just to make it sound like a real drum kit. And it's not just with drums. You want to do it with like certain samples of a series. So when I drop in, like, take a saxophone loop, I chop it up into 4 pieces, and I put the 4 pieces across these 4 pads. I'd have those in a cut group, so they're cutting themselves. All right. Okay, so let me delete this other one. Turn on my piano, my MIDI controller, and go back to the sample library. Oh, I'm so remembering that I just dumped all my samples into my cloud. Should be no problem though. Hold on. I moved my library, my official sample library, into a cloud service so I could access it on all my devices. But I don't have it in the FS folder, so let me see if that's even doable. Let's see. My samples. Rename this. Of course, they won't be like, you wouldn't want them to be stored online only and then try to work in real time. So you of course you want to download them all to your computer, which they should be. It's not showing they are though. Should have done this before. Anyway, so on FL Studio, you can add more folders over here. You can tell FL Studio where to search for stuff. You can also just usually drag a folder right onto here. Let's see if that works. Yeah, so there's my library. Okay. I should have fixed that. And when you try to access a file that's not downloaded, it should download it first for you automatically, and then pull it over. But you want all your you would on your main computer, you'd want all your samples actually downloaded on your computer, so you can work in real time. Not have to wait for little downloads. Okay, so let's see if that works. So collected loops, lead loops. There they are. Okay, that does. And that's pretty cool having them in there because, like I said, so if I add any new samples to it, and I try to stay super organized, but if I add any new samples to the folder, they'll upload to the cloud, and when I'm on the iPad, I'll just already have access. I used to kind of do something like that, but I had 2 separate libraries, and I felt like and like 3 actually. I had a backup library, and then I had my main library, and then I would take another library over to my iPad, and I was just like, every time I'd add new samples to it, I would feel like I need to update all 3 libraries, and I was like, well, wait a minute, why not just make them all online? They're already backed up, you know, and then so, duh. Okay, so I am looking for a saxophone lead. This is 180. To make this easy, let's just start with in 180. All right, I'm gonna open an Edison. Drop that in, and I should be able to. Let me both sync this there. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll probably gonna get 8 chops out of this for sure. So detach this Edison, pull it over to my other window. Keep this here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I like to put my kick drum and snare drum in a certain spot when I'm playing on the keyboard. So I actually have those mapped out. So basically F sharp would be my kick. F sharp 5 is gonna be my kick drum. G sharp 5 is gonna be the hi-hat, and or one of the, you know, hi-hat, and then I'm gonna have A sharp 5 be my snare drum, but then I throw some other little percussions and open hat and close hat and all that stuff around that. But that's my main thing I do there. So I'm gonna put a lot of the other sounds on this side. No particular order, just kind of starting from the bottom, going up. That's I started from the bottom. Okay, how many slices in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I could get a lot more, you know. See what the more the better, because the more slices, the more creative you can be when you're playing it back. But so let's see, this would be. Now I'm gonna want to declick all these and all that stuff, but let's see. Do like 16 little pads. Or 8 like this. I'm gonna do 16 little pads. You kind of want to get the 0 crossing point on these, or you want to declick them for sure. Now I want all this stuff to line up with 180 beats per minute. So you really want to make sure the starting points are on the grid. The end point, you can kind of be a little more loose with it. But you still want it to be, let me see here, it's a full count though, so there's not little gaps. But see how the 0 crossing is going to help with the declicking. So I'm going to do like that. See, it's not cutting itself yet. They're overlapping, so I'll pick a cut group. I'm going to reserve the very first one for the drums, the snare drum. Second one for the hi-hats. Third one for the snares. You know what? That's not necessary at all. Okay, so I'm just going to pick the first one. So first cut group is 0. And now it's going to cut itself. Yeah. And all right. So let's cut some more here. I'm gonna keep switching back here. It's actually easier. Get the numbers here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Those should just switch back for me. So zero crossing. If I want to switch back to grid, it's 1. If there's any clicking, I will fix it afterwards. I just want to make sure it's lined up on the grid. It's going to cause clicking sometimes. You just got to get in there and manually fix it. Like I said, I am trying to, in real time, do the end part. So you can just use the snap to 0 to find the end. But I don't want to do that at the beginning because it's going to mess up the grid, tempo. Or whatever. I know everybody knows what I'm talking about, hopefully. So there's that. Let's pull this one in. Give it the same cut group. Make sure my MIDI controller's working here. Sure is. Okay. So, if this wasn't a live stream, this is where I would fast forward the video, but let's go ahead and do this. Snap to grid. Grid. I have to go right past. That's so you don't get any. You're sure not to get that little gap there. That in 3. 4. Make sure giving them the same cut group. It's called, in some samplers, it's called the choke or the cut by. So I mean, you could have zoomed. I could have got 32 cuts out of this, but that's not really the point of this style of sampling. It's not to, because then at that point, I mean, you're just cutting it down to like single notes sometimes, which you get some neat articulation and stuff in there, and that's give you a lot of creativity. But this is trying to take some already nice little licks and piece them together to make like a new new arrangement of those. But this is like traditional hip hop sampling and stuff, but usually these samples would be coming from a record. I mean, like a track, like sampled a song or something. I'm gonna do before the grid on this one because this looks like the transient starts right there. I don't want to pick up too much of that. So these are actually the same. I think they were probably played ever so slightly different, unless the loop was made just by copy and paste. I usually leave those pads out, to be honest. I don't want to confuse myself with two pads that are basically the same, but if they're different enough, I'll keep those. Using the hotkeys to switch between zero crossing and grid snap. That didn't work. What did I do? Sounds like a little click in that one. Some of it's fine. In context, some clicking is fine. You don't want the kind of clicking that sounds like a digital pop but if it sounds like a click, just like acoustic, things clicking around like in the mic or the recording, that's fine. I easily lose track of where I'm at here. See, this is gonna have a tail that's gonna get cut off. We don't have to cut it off, so there's ways around that. So snap back to grid. This side, go to zero crossing. We'll keep all that tail. The start point's the most important thing about these. And it can go past the 2 bars. But on the next one, you're going to want to still catch this part right here. Right. So drag this over. We'll see what that sounds like. It's kind of a weird one because it's catching the tail, but you don't have to do that. So there's different ways you can kind of customize this. I could try to give this start point a little bit more attack and make this like another note, not the tail of a note, or just cut it out altogether. So like, I'm just gonna leave it like that though. And it's just, I mean, it still works. Like it's its own thing. Like. You can throw it in different ways, or if you really just lining it up with the grid. If you're using the piano roll and you're lining this up with the grid, you'll know it just comes right after this one. Or something like that. It's not meant to be played necessarily in order, Okay, so that's fine. Like I said, I could go into this sample. It's right here, and you can just drag it back out so you can edit it. But let's go ahead and finish the rest of this. So, right. These are kind of the tedious things that I originally said I don't want to be doing on stream, like chopping things up. The more chops, of course, the longer it's going to take. But I want to get this one chopped up for sure because I like the way this sounds. So let me zero crossing right there before that. Right there. Yeah, but from this one loop, I'm going to be able to fill up this whole thing, which is really nice. It's more than I wanted, though. I should have kept only 8, but I will. I'm going to do this anyways. So I wanted to fit other instruments in here. See, all 3 of those are the same. I could take out these 2. That's not too choppy. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Yeah, it just depends on how the original loop was made. Some of these are going to be like duplicates. Now, if it was played by a real saxophone player, which it might have been. Let's see. Grid spacing. That one should be fine. Each one, even though they're the same notes and stuff, it should be a little different. These sound identical. Like it was just copy paste. Make sure all the cut groups are. These little gaps can still end up causing a problem, depending on how I play them. It just depends. The reverb and other drowns, it's really small little gaps. You kind of want to go past. You can easily declick this. You can just take this part right here that's still popped up above this line and, zero it out. Uh, you know, fade it out. Okay. Where am I at? 1, 2, 3 left. Snap to grid. Snap to zero crossing. Almost done here. Grid. Zero crossing. See, this one I'm going to go and take the whole tail. If it's a tail, I don't like to leave. Cut the tail off halfway through. That one. It's the same as the other one. I had to set my Edison to sync the tempo. It's not all the grid is not always synced to the tempo of your project with Edison. So you have to turn on tempo sync. All right, there is like a velocity setting here, but I don't like to use the velocity like if I hit softer on the keys, because there's more than one note being played, so you really don't have control over all the notes. You just have control over that sample, which can make it sound unnatural if two of them are not the same volume. So to fix that, I'm gonna click on each pad and I'm gonna switch off scale volume with velocity. Something I want, since this is a blank FPC template I have anyways, this is something I should add to the template. I'll turn these off already. I'll play it on my MIDI controller, which is not close to my microphone, so hold on. Turn on a click drum. I don't like how those three are the same. So like, all four of those are the same. It makes sense because of how the way I chopped the loop, but so I mean this just makes sense. It so nicely fits 16 pads, which fills up all the pads and cuts up the loop. A nice 4/4 time style, but I could have saved 3 pads by not repeating these. I would have just either left them blank here or put these in order, like scooted these 3 over. You know what though? I mean, I like the 16 pads. If I was getting a little bit more custom with this, I would take these other 3 here and I would edit them a little different. I'd maybe reverse one of them or just chop one up and duplicate one of the little first accent note or something like that. So they're all actually different. So that's something you can also do. Or you could actually, for that matter, manipulate any of these and throw it over to these. I would still keep these in here so you know the timing of the beat. Like these, you know, because the beat the original loop goes in this order. You know, that order. So if you wanted to leave it in that order, so you kind of know that's the end of that original loop. But again, if you're re-chopping this and all that stuff, it's not that necessary. Okay, so I actually want to put the kick drum and the snare drum in the same kit because I want to make a full kit. That's kind of what I'm trying to do here. But since I made the saxophone so full like that, it's really I'm not going to be able to make the full kit. Usually these are done with maybe 4 pads for each sound, up to 8 pads of a loop chopped up, and then you got the bass and stuff in there too. And you want to have that on the same thing. So the problem with this is if you're using a MIDI controller that only has these 16 pads, and you're not going to be able to hit the bass and the drums at the same time as these because they're on a separate thing. Now, if you're using a keyboard like me, it's doable. Or if you have a pad controller like the Fruity Fire or some other thing that has, or a launch pad or something, that you can put out all 32 pads, then you'll be able to. So, but if you ever seen any of the ones, a lot of times they'll put the kick drum, snare drum, and hi-hat at the bottom, the drums at the bottom, and then they'll put the bass up here, and they'll put some chords and like the leads. Then you can play it all different parts of the song. I mean, all the parts with 2 hands. But okay, so I'm gonna add a kick drum here though. Let's go. All my samples are like super heavy bass music style drum samples, so I'm just gonna open up the FL packs. You know, no, that's not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna go back to my loops, which is now right here. Collected loops, drums. I'm gonna find a drum loop that I already have. In fact, I'm just gonna make it easy by picking one that's 180, and I'm gonna chop that up in the same fashion. I think I use this loop a lot because it's like one of the only old school hip hop style loops I got. Okay, so sync to tempo. It turns it off, so free sync, tempo sync 180, tempo sync. All right, and I'm gonna just kind of drop it. You don't have to do as many chops on this one. Hey, Kitsun. Hey, Super Z. People in the chat. Super Z. I plan on using more of those samples. You sent me so many samples that you're gonna give me plenty to work with. But KP, if you ever want to send me some samples, excuse me, I know Miro's gonna be working on some samples. More samples you'll send me during the week, the more content I'll have during the stream, which is fun, and the more collaborative these streams will be. Today I'm filling up one of these FPCs with a sample, so I don't know how long y'all have been here, but I took one saxophone loop that I had and I chopped into 16 pieces and ended up with this. So all these. See, like, notice these two are the same too. All right, so now I'm gonna drop on the B side over here. I'm gonna cut up this drum loop here, and I probably see how this has a little bit of a, what is that? Like for this snare, ghost hit. So I want to capture all that. So actually, how I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna take the full all the way to the end, all the way to the next kick drum. So, well, what's this? There's the clap. So actually, I'll just take it all the way to this kick drum here, but I want to leave out this little thing here so it doesn't clip at the end of that one. And so I'll probably have to cut it off here. So turn back on zero crossing. So if I take this whole thing, drop it over here, you're not going to really play it like a drum pad. You're more like just triggering loops, more like a launch pad, but you'll keep them short. So you're going to have to keep hitting the kick drum every, downbeat. So Yeah, and again, you got to give the drums their own cut group. So I have the saxophone on cut group 0, so you don't want to have it on the same one because, of course, then the saxophone and the drums will be cutting each other. But so I'll just put this little drum beat on cut group 2. And I kind of want to also have a second pad catch the snare. So say you do want to play like the snare, do it something like this. Turn on grid, make sure it grabs it, and then you can grab that and put it on a separate pad. So then you got, if you want to play the snare, you can put on cut group 1. See, it plays it for you. So here, I'm gonna jump over to a MIDI controller and see how this works. And what is this? So this is E5. Just playing it, it makes me want to make it just a little longer. So I'll go back. I'm gonna keep that snare like that, but I'm gonna take this one, I'm gonna delete it, and I'm gonna grab 2 bars. So kick, snare, kick, snare. This will make it easier to play, plus it'll get all this other fun stuff in there. You don't want to leave all that out. So grab it, drop it right here. Make sure you turn off the scale volume thing. There. All right, let me try to play this again on my MIDI controller. And you still got the snare one. So you can actually play, when you set it up like this and you give yourself a pad for the snare and stuff still too, even though that first pad will play out if you don't hit anything else, if you have the cut group on, the second snare will cut that group. So you can still actually play it a little customized. So let me play a little demo of just the drums. You can double up the notes and stuff. That's real fun. And then, depending on how much, like if you look at this drum loop, it looks pretty repetitive. But if there's other little variations in here, you want to get those in there too. Yeah, it's the same thing all the way through. There's not even a drum. There's not even a fill. So there's really no point in cutting this loop up anymore. But you got all the drums. So you'd want to put some bass in here. So let's go find a bass that might fit. What was the key of that original sample? A minor. Put some chords. You can leave the bass out so you can actually program a better bass line or something. But ideally, like I said, I'd want to fit all these in. So I should have put the saxophone at 8 pads. That would have left me more for the whole song. But I'm just gonna keep going with the way it is. I'll put some bass in here. Some chords maybe. Before making a construction kit, you wouldn't really want to make a construction kit with random loops unless you can just pick the right loops that are going to sound good together. The best way to make a construction kit is first take all those loops, drop them into FL's playlist, rearrange them, and make them custom, really make something custom and original, then chop those loops up into the pad. Then you'll know everything's meant to be together. It's like that would be an actual construction kit. But I'm not doing that today. Let's see here. There's something. Already in the right key, already on the tempo and everything. I do that because I'm already a big fan of just making any two samples work together. But I'm also doing it for just to be quicker here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's cut this up in 8. Let's see what this bass sounds like with those ones. The problem with the bass being so, it's not going to work with the horns. Those accent notes and stuff are going to be in a different spot. That's why I don't like to just take 2 loops and try to mash them together in a construction kit. But I'm going to try just with one of these to see what it sounds like. I'm going to grab that. Put this on 0 crossing. You'd want to just take a couple of these notes and rearrange them closer to the grid. But you'd want to take the saxophone sample, put it into the playlist, take the bass line, put it into the playlist, realign the notes a little, and then resample it. That'd be the best way to do it. Let's grab this, drop it right here. Give this cut group its own thing. Go ahead and grab one more of these. All right, let's see how bad this actually sounds, because the saxophone and the bass probably won't line up. Let's see what happens. So these are G sharp 5. You feel that beat. I need to practice playing it, but yeah, I kind of like the way it sounds. Even though if I was to listen closely, I would notice how the bass is not lining up. Doesn't have to line up perfect, of course, but you don't want, um, the bass to try to do something fancy at the same time as the horns if they're completely two different things. Is what I mean. So when notes run together or aren't just right on the grid, like you do little trails or little runs and stuff, you got to make sure the instruments are not clashing. They're just taking turns. So that's why not all 2 loops are going to work together. Of course, you just got to listen. But this kind of works. It's fun though. That's why I like making these. These are real fun. I need to turn these scale velocities off. And the thing is, you could send these separate pads out to separate groups on the mixer, and you can still set up all the side chaining stuff. And you can use auto side chaining, like compressors. You could use, I mean, that'd probably be one of the best things for this, since you'd be playing in real time. This is more of a performance thing. I mean, you put it in this format to perform with it, but then you can still capture it for recording. But depending on what you're going to use it for. If you're going to use it in real time for jamming, you'd want to send the kick drum to its own mixer track, and the snare drum for that matter, and then set up some sidechain ducking compressors and stuff to duck some of these other channels. And then in real time, you'd be able to play your pads and have that nice sidechain effect. Okay, so this is fun. Since this is kind of working, I'm gonna go ahead and cut up the rest of this bass and drop it in there. I'm looking at another reason why I'm going with just one, two, three, four pads on this. If I was gonna cut 8, the second pad of every one would be like halfway through this note. So you got to kind of look at the notes on the loop, and you want the start of each one to kind of be at the beginning, like, of a note at least. So let me see. Grid. Zero crossing. That should be fine. This is probably gonna need to be declicked. I could do it right now. Like, there's different ways to do it. So I grab this, zoom all the way in here, something like that. Look at that. It makes sure that's on 0 there. So, yeah, should have listened to that to make sure. Don't always trust your eyes. You want to listen to it, of course. But let's see here. 3. Cut group. I already forgot what group it is. Yeah, 2. See, it doesn't click. Now, I didn't listen to it to see if it was even clicking to start with, but I could tell just by looking at it that it was going to have a funky thing, but now it fixed it. Nice and smooth. All right, let's grab this last one. Ah, that has a nice slide. That's what makes these so fun, because you get those loops, then you can kind of, when you cut them up, you get new little, yeah. Yeah. So, bass. We can still fit chords in here. All right, I'm gonna try to play something just to test out these new samplers off in. These two samples are the same. I mean, you're gonna find that a lot in these loops because most loops, and that's how you get. I mean, people don't understand how. I mean, some people get it, of course, but a lot of people don't really consider when they're making a loop. This is why people get lost in loops and they get too complex, too weird. And I'm mainly talking about beginners, of course. Is they forget how most loops kind of the repetitiveness that does make a loop sound good, and it's usually like the first. It's gonna be the same as the fifth bar, and the second bar is gonna be the same as the sixth bar sometimes. Now, there's going to be little variations in there, but then usually when you jump back to the third bar, it's going to be the same as the first bar, maybe with a little variation. It just depends on how repetitive the loop is, but then even special, so where you put your changes are at the end of each, if it's 4/4 time, you could have a little change halfway through the loop, a quarter of the way through the loop, and at the end of the loop, of course. And so those little variations you make at the end, but the loop should still start. And what I'm basically explaining is the A, B, A, C, A, B, A, D. Those kind of things. And the loop can go longer, the loop could be shorter. You can go A, B, A, C, or whatever. I mean, of course, there's everything like that, but it's that jumping back to the A. You can be A, B, A variation, C, A, B, C variation. I'm confusing myself, but that's what I'm talking about. That's how you make a loop. But because of that, and that's why you find most of these loops. That's why when I cut these pads so closely, 2 pads are gonna be the same. But if it's a good loop, they'll be played in real time, and there might be a little variation between these two. That one has little slides. Now, when you're jamming live, I think those get in the way because you're like, you want everything to kind of have its own purpose and every key to have its purpose, and it's annoying to have two keys basically doing the same thing. But you either just take mental note of it and kind of figure out which one you like playing and just ignore the other one, or like I was saying before, you can just get in there and alter the kit. Take one of these out, like this second one, this one right here, this repeat of A. I'd make a variation on it and drop it back in here. All right, let's find some chords. All right. It doesn't have to be 180 and stuff. Look at it. It's always too perfect. 180 A minor. Let's see what this sounds like. That works for me because it won't interfere too much with it. It's just going. Let's hear what that sounds like with the sax. It's gonna be hard to cut these without getting that nice, beautiful little thing here. This one would be easy. So let's go ahead and first of all, well, let's make 4 pads out of this, I guess. So first pad. Really don't want it to cut off without playing the end of it. I'm just gonna make it like this. So let's see, 4. I'll change it if it doesn't work, but I'm gonna do it like that. I'm gonna give this its own cut group. So I think we're like on cut group 5 now. No, we're on cut group 3. So you don't get the beginning on that one. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna kind of cheat. I'm gonna take this one. So I'm gonna cut grid, or wait, snap to grid. Put it right there. Put this right here. And delete. All right. And none of this is really necessary, so I'm gonna take all this. Whoa, I didn't mean to do that. Undo. Sounds weird, right? Let's see. Cut group. So C6. You gotta, since I made this kit kind of weird, since some of the loops are different lengths. You have to memorize which ones you have to play. You know, how long each loop's gonna be. So really, you'd want to make the kit. You know, you want to plan that out. You know, if you play these kits, you got to figure out how you like playing it. Some people like to play the drums in real time completely, so they wouldn't want the drums at all to be on loop. Some people just want the loops. Some people want the drums to play on loop the whole time, you know, as a backing track, then they don't have to play the drums at all. This I like this way where the drum plays for a decent amount of time, so you can go off and do some other stuff real quick. But you always got to come back on the second. This one's set to every 2 bars, so you got every 2 bars you got to hit that kick drum thing again. It would be fun to just do a full 4 bar little kick pattern there and then just restart. But have the snare drum on its own, so you can still do some. So there's different ways to do that. But since I got these at different lengths, this is like a really long. It doesn't feel comfortable to play this setup because both these sound the same, but it's the second chord that's different, so it doesn't feel right. It's just something you got to play that you got to know. Like you got to hit this one on the first one, and then this one on the second one. But without that chord change, it doesn't feel right. You know, it doesn't feel like an instrument. You want the chord to change when you play different pads, so you can kind of bounce back and forth and do like. So I'd probably end up cutting this up into 4 pads. That second one, I'd put it in there. Of course, the problem I was having was that little run that comes right before the downbeat. So these need to be on the downbeat so you can play. You know, since there's multiple notes in the pad, if you don't strike it on the downbeat or it doesn't start on the downbeat, all the notes are just going to be off grid. So you can't put the little run in there. You just need to edit the you just need to edit it. Like if you really want that run in there, you would need to stretch this a little and put this little thing like kind of before, like right at the grid here, and the run could be here. You just kind of have to squish this part using some time stretching things and keep the rest of this the same. That's one thing that takes out the humanization of people that play on pads and launch pads, is having to like land on the grid. You can't do like things slightly before the grid. Not the downbeats anyways. It has to be somewhere in the loop. But there's ways around that. Of course, they're just all it just depends on how good and how you want to get with the pad control. So this is cool though. I like it. Oh, I never tried these chords with the saxophone. Let me try that. That drum loop, so you usually don't do 2 bars. You either do 1 bar or, let me see. Let's count this. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. It's 1 bar. It's 4 beats. So I actually usually just do the kick, snare, so then like a snare, or I'll just do the kick by itself and then the snare by itself, of course. But let's see, 2, 3, 4. Just gotta remember that. And then the bass is 2, 3, 4. It's the same. So the kick and the bass, the drum and the bass work good together. And since I chopped the saxophone to be up in little pieces, it gives you a lot of freedom to play. Like in this setup, I have it on my left hand. So I'm playing the drums with my right hand, the saxophone on my left hand. I just need to practice with it. Let me try a couple more things. Too many of those are the same. I would prefer playing these on pads and not the MIDI controller that I have going on right now because of the way the pads are laid out. It does make it easier to memorize what key does what. When I have it set on a piano like this and just have them in like chronological order, like or chromatic order, um, I can forget. Again, it just takes practice, I guess. Yeah, I'd want those on pads. Let me. I do like this bass and drum though. Should we try with the chord? I forgot the second chord. So the first chord would be. Hitting that second pad with the chord. Okay, so that's pretty fun. I like these kind of kits. You got room up here. Excuse me. You could have done more drums. 2 more. And that would have been nice if that drum loop would have had a little drum fill. And then could have cut these chords up into 4, which would have been nicer. Of course, the second one and the first one would have been very similar. See how this very first one does have the little trill? The little one. That's what I meant by you could kind of do that on the second half. It's just humanizes it. You know, when a human plays, they're not always on the grid, and sometimes on the downbeat. He does that, essentially does the same thing on this one, but he does it before the grid. So what to put up here? Some samples or something. You got say like this. Put them on cut group 4. I wonder how they sound with those other chords. That one wasn't, the cut group wasn't on that one. That's why this is the same. They're the same. This loop just repeats itself. Alright. I want to hear what that sounds like. All right, but this is okay. So Building a construction kit, you would actually, out of random loops, like I'm doing here, you would also want to go and mix the loops together and kind of like EQ. A construction kit, an actual construction kit that you would buy in the store or come with like an app or something, or in one of these presets. All the samples are already mixed to sound good together, and they've already done that. And then they resampled them and dropped those samples back in here, and you're not really gonna have to go in. But right here, like this chord pad, not belonging with any of these other samples in context for that matter, it's it just needs to be EQ'd and all that stuff. So if you want to keep it inside the FL project, you could just route this stuff out to separate mixers, EQ it, and then you wouldn't really have to resample it, but I think it'd be better to resample it and then drop it back in. Then you can just save the kit and share it with people or back it up. And if you use FL Studio Mobile, these kits can be like, if you drop this down, there's a little option here. Where is it? Oh, it's this thing. This little drop down arrow right here. Save for FL Studio Mobile, and you can actually drop these into a direct wave patch, basically. Look at this. Interesting. Oh, cool. I didn't know Dave did this. This would be very helpful when building these. But yeah, so yeah, you drop that down and you save for FL Studio Mobile, and you can build some nice kits, put it in your phone, and take it with you and mess around. So that's fun. Okay, I'll show real quick, just because I want to try to do it, how to route this stuff to separate mixers. So if I wanted to route, say, the drums, so I want to sidechain the other samples with the drums, I would route this out. So you're going to give this a group. Oh, actually, this is FPC. I was thinking of Slice X. FPC, you can actually probably just route it right here, and it's going to go in order, I believe. So this is on mixer track 1. If I was to output to 1, let's see what happens. Oh, it goes to the left. 2. 2. Mixer track 2. It's on the right. If I go to 3, it's on track 3. I'm just going to experiment with something. Oh, -1. Okay, so it goes to -2. That makes sense. I'm just curious. So this is on track 1. Oh, this is not even on track 1. What is this on? Oh, stop it. Stop it. Okay. Okay, so that's what I was doing that. Okay, makes sense. So I'm on the master still. So let me go to track 1. So if I put this on mixer track 1, the main thing, and then if I was to send the drums output 1, it's actually going to be on track 2 now. It's 1 over to the right of wherever this is located. But what's really neat about that is if you routed every pad out to the mixer, you could actually leave the FPC on the master, and then these numbers would actually make sense to the mixer track. That's not always going to be the case. You're going to add other things to the project, so you just got to be careful with that. But anyways, I'm actually going to do it this time just because I like that. So I'm going to put this on the master, and I'm going to put the kick drums on 1. And the snare drum on 1. There we go. So I'll put the drums on track 1. Take the bass. Track 2. So I got the drums on track 1, bass on track 2. That's how you're going to be able to mix this kit. You can do it like this and then resample everything later and drop it back in. So this will just help you like keep everything going, trying out different samples, and you can build some MIDI patterns to keep playing if you don't want to play it with your hands. And while the loops are all playing, you can get in there and mix it on the mixer, different EQs and effects maybe or whatever. And then when you get it sounding the way you like it, stop it, erase all the data, and resample each pad that you made changes to. And then you want to have to, then next time you drop this in, say FL Mobile, or you gave it to someone, they're not going to have to necessarily route everything and EQ it and stuff, of course. Alright, so I want the drums to sidechain the bass, but how do you do that when the drums are all in one loop? Well, I like to frequency split the signal and then just like grab the sidechain from the bottom half of the thing. So, how do I want to do that? So if the drums are coming in, I just don't want that hi-hat triggering the sidechain is what I'm saying. So there's a couple ways to do it. I could actually just, so I'm gonna take the kick, snare track. I'll route that to another track. I always do this stuff at the, so dock this. This is just the way I do it. So I'm gonna dock it over here to the right. I'm gonna send this kick drum to this also. I'm sending the drum pattern to this mixer track over here, this bus. And I'm gonna take the bus, I'm gonna not route it to the master. So you're not gonna hear a second duplicate. It's just gonna go to that. So like it's also going to this thing right here. Then from this place, I will open up an EQ or a frequency splitter actually. And I'm just gonna mute the top end. So like this. Oops, not that. And I'll use this to see how much of it I want to grab. No, that's not what I want to do. I'm going to create a quick pattern, MIDI pattern clip that'll play the loop in the background for me. So that. There's a little drum thing there. All right. All right. So this frequency splitter. Depending on where I put this cross point. See, there's a snare drum. You want to capture a little of the snare. Let's see, it's not going to capture the hi-hat too much, so. So now if I can, there's different ways I can do it. I'm just going to use the good old-fashioned fruity peak controller. But actually, I could just sidechain this track to whatever tracks I want to sidechain and open up a compressor, but I'm not going to do that. So I'll put this bass at 50. It's called bass as in like starting bass, I guess. Because that's where the knob sits, right there at 50%. So I'm going to set it at 50. No, I'm not. I'm going to want to actually set this at 80. All right, so I'll go back to the bass track. I'm going to open up a fruity balance. I'm going to grab this fruity balance to control the volume of my bass. I'm going to actually copy the value of this knob here, and that's what I'm going to set the bass at. Paste. I might have to do that in the opposite direction, but I'll leave it like that. I might have to do 20% instead of 80%, but I'll check that in a second. All right, turn the volume up. Link to controller. I'll link it to that peak controller. You're going to want to invert it. Okay, yeah, I want to do 20%, not 80%. So you put this at 20%, the bass, since you inverted it. Like that. All right, let's see if this is working. Think of pops and clicks. It's sidechaining it, but I don't like the way that sounds right there. Let's see what's happening. Is that in the sample? It's just part of the drum beat. Huh. That's not even something I did. That's just part of the drum beat. That's one way to sidechain stuff, and you can just link any track that you want to sidechain with that kick and snare to the same value. I just created this volume knob here and this utility tool and linked it to this controller. So you can just link everything to the same controller. You can adjust this to get the sidechain just right. I hate that little popping sound in that drum beat. I'm gonna program my own little beat here then. Let me go. I got rid of that popping sound. Yeah, Mira, I try to go for a little, like, under 2 hours. Over an hour and a half, under 2 hours, usually what I try to do. I had fun with this one. I like chopping this stuff up. I like jamming on it more than creating these kits. But this was nice to kind of make a custom kit. Let's put in some of these other. That doesn't work with those chords. Let's try this with the bass. So we would double this. Now, I basically just put the bass and the chords back in the same order the loops were already in, so this is kind of like not how you'd want to do this. You'd want to chop these up. The drum beat's a little customized. All right, now that saxophone. You know, I'm just gonna play the saxophone while this plays in the background. remember how the chords are, but also I need to add some reverb to those saxes, so that would take a little effort. I need to jump over here, route every one of these to the same track. Let's just go track 3. Let's do it. Gotta get that reverb on the track. I wonder if there's an easier way to do this. Need some reverb on this saxophone. Almost done. I think I got them all, but I'm not gonna check. Let's go 3 and open a reverb. It's a bad reverb. So I get for just using the default FO reverbs. I been meaning to get me some of the hollow reverbs. If you go through all the impulse responses they got, like in the FL folders files, and you bring in some of your own, you can actually get everything you're looking for with this convolver. If you like convolution reverb, but there's still plus and minuses about convolution reverb and just other reverb. But I like to say that I like this little default thing. I keep wanting to play it like a regular piano and forget their samples. Those strings they brought in, like, they don't sound good. I don't like those, so I'd probably get rid of those. I like that bass line. So usually when I take these kits over to the mobile, because I like to mess around on mobile a lot, this is how I build the whole song right here in the piano roll, because the whole kit's here, so you get the drums, the bass, and everything. If I wanted to start bringing. You know, and then, you know, I'd build the whole song. Like, so I'd finally get like a little arrangement, 4-bar, A-bar, and all that stuff, and then I'd duplicate, I'd make the drop. And then you build the whole song. It doesn't have to be in the piano roll, but you're basically building with the piano roll, and then take those patterns and move the patterns around on the playlist or whatever. But in FL Mobile, since everything's right here, you're not having to like really open up too many separate things. Now, if you want to start routing the samples, separate samples, to their own mixer tracks in FL Mobile. You wouldn't be able to do that with the same patch. It's not as advanced yet. At least I don't think so. So you'd want to have to resample some of these in their own little thing, or open up different instances of the same patch, and then just use. So I could open up 3 instances of the same direct wave patch inside of FL Mobile, and just use one for the kicks and drums, one for the bass, one thing. So even though all the samples are in the same thing, you're only using one. Then you could run each one through their own mixer channel and own effects and stuff. So that's one way to do it. But kind of the point I was trying to make is about getting this all sounding good before you even take it over to the kit. Then you don't have to spend much time mixing. You can just spend time arranging and jamming and stuff. I want that note to go do 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 do, and it's not in there. And I can't remember if I have a sample like that. It doesn't. So I would just edit sample and add that note in there. It's the way to do that. And if you're using this method just to write songs, you're never really gonna like jam with it or keep it in this mode, then you can just, after you get the whole thing arranged like this, then record each one of these tracks out separately, and then you'll be able to just go in and edit that after the fact. Put those extra little notes in there that you hear. Do, 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 do. Do 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 do. I just want that do 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 do. I just want that last little note there. It'll drive me crazy if I don't add it, but this one would be fun to play lead over. Miro, if you're still there, I remember you were saying earlier, be either maybe with a backing track or something to play with. So if we want to continue this idea of you sending me samples, I know I got some saxophone samples here because you got me in the mood for saxophone. But we can replace these with your own little things, or we just do a whole new project in this similar fashion. But I can give you like this as a backing track. That's how you can add those little notes in there. So if I really wanted a note in there, Might not be the note I was originally looking for, but let's see what this sounds like. I don't know if that side chain's even good, right? So it looks all over the place right here. I think it sounded better. All those samples got to finish ringing out because of the FPC. That sidechain's a little. I don't use the free Peak controller for sidechain ever unless I'm doing performances or something and I need something kind of like this. I think maybe I saved myself a preset of one that I just really worked for like a wide variety of drum loops. But when you're throwing random loops in, you just got to really, you kind of want to map that sidechain triggered stuff. But if you're performing, you got to set up these controllers. An easier way also probably would have been just to sidechain to this track from the bass track like this. Sidechain to this track, and then I think I could just open up. I mean, I know I can. I can just open up this here and link it to. I did that backwards. I knew I was. That's why I was saying I think, because I knew I did it backwards. Let me undo that. So, anyways, I'm here on the bass track. I'm gonna unsidechain to this. So what you do is you sidechain this to the bass track. Sidechain to track, and you can go here, open up this compressor, and grab that insert 125. Then if I turn the compressor on. Like that. I'll turn off this other fruity balance that I was using for sidechain. And we'll try this. Yeah. This is a better way to do it. The reason why I like the Peak controller is because you can just quickly link different knobs to the Peak controller. But doing it this way and open a compressor on every track gives you a lot more control. So it's probably the way to go. And see how the snare's not really catching it? It doesn't really need to with this track, but if I wanted the snare to catch it more, of course, I would go back to the frequency splitter here and adjust the cutoff values. The cross point. If I wanted to catch everything, I'd do like... I would turn these all back on. Catching more of the hi-hat and stuff, but... Hi-hats are quiet to begin with. Oh, there we go. You really don't even need the frequency splitter with this one because the hi-hats aren't dominating. This is just so you can control. Like if I just wanted just the thump of the kick, I'd do it like this. just the kick drum coming through, just the thump of it. Controlling that low end problem. The snare drum is just a little click anyway. So, I mean, what did I put on this third track? The saxophone. So, I would sidechain to track 3. Open up a compressor on track 3. I'll do it before that reverb to make it more natural. Insert one. So you pick the same insert. Let's see. So now this is the saxophone. I don't want it to duck as hard. I'll just do it. Not ducking as hard. That way that kick drum really pops through with that modern style mix, if you like that stuff. I haven't looked at my limiter once this whole stream. It's been kind of quiet. Forgive me for the quiet stream if it was quiet today. Yeah. My voice was plenty loud. I wasn't looking at the limiter all day, and I just noticed that I was kind of quiet all day. But okay, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and kind of wrap this up. I'm really happy with the way this sounded. I'm going to turn this up just for the final clip, because I like to grab the highlights. So let me, real quick, let me turn this up. So before I play that for the highlight reel, I am going to do the final announcements. Thanks to anyone that was here in the chat today that stopped by. Like I always say, if you want to get involved with the stream, send me samples. Anything that someone sends me, as long as I, try to make it a custom and original. Don't just send me something from a, Cymatics pack or something. Give me some original stuff. But it could be recorded. It could be some samples that you flipped, or if it is a sample from a pack, just give me a random mixed bag of samples or whatever. Give me just some drop loops, whatever it might be, some drum samples, some vocal things. Anything you send me, I'll use during the stream. I'll try to make it fit into whatever project I'm working on, and I'll be sure to mention to everybody who samples came from. So it's just another way to get your name out there, get involved. Now, if we want to actually collaborate, just let me know. Anyone that wants to say, hey, let's do a collab, I'm gonna want to do it here on stream to give us more content, but we'll just collab. So that's either sending me samples, joining the chat, talking during the stream, and discussing ideas and shooting back and forth, and maybe that stream continues on to the next week or whatever until we get it finished. But so community collabs is something I'm totally up. I want to get these streams doing, like community collaborations, challenges. So any challenge thrown my way, the producer challenge, do the 5-minute drop challenge. I don't know. There's different challenges out there. In fact, if you look for producer challenges, there's a whole bunch of producer challenges that people have made, and those are fun to do. And then we can make our own challenges, and I can send them back to the community kind of thing. Anything to keep these streams community related it'll be good. I'm thinking about, I only do one stream a week right now, but I'm thinking about extending it to more streams, maybe one other stream, but I want it to be different. And those streams, I definitely want it to be community related. So if anyone's got an idea for other kind of streaming content that would be good for the channel, let me know. But I don't want to just do anything. I like what we've been doing so far. It's simple. It works. And for those that come back and watch the replays and give me views, totally appreciate that. If anyone that hasn't joined our community yet, please do. All our links are on top of our channel, and you'll see our Discord, our YouTube, and SoundCloud and stuff. And if you are a music producer too, and you want to get involved with the community, we're a small but growing community, friendly, lots of friendly people. It's a place to share your music. We do a feedback stream every Friday on YouTube. and we do competitions and challenges. And so join a community for more details about that. And finally, just let everybody know I do FL Studio private lessons professionally and affordable lessons. So if you want to get into FL Studio and you want to learn more about it, I've been using this software for over 10 years, and I can teach. I have my own unique courses that I've set up, and I can run you through courses. And so if you want more details about that, just contact me in the MPA community. Again, I'm the guild leader in the MPA community, and on the Discord and stuff like that. So, all right, I'm gonna play this track one more time through. I like to do it at the very end to make it easy for me to grab the little highlight on Twitch. And so I'm just gonna play this one last time. Thanks again for everyone that sat through the stream or checks out the replay. All right, here we go.